Minecraft just added 2 new bushes into the game, so I designed these fast yet simple automatic farms to get an infinite supply. This is part of my Farm Everything series, where I've designed a farm for over 1,400 different items in Minecraft. See my current progress in this playlist or on the spreadsheet linked below. Hello there, right here, and you want a lot of these because these things look amazing. The Firefly Bush has fireflies that are blinking on the actual bush, as well as ones as particles floating all about. And you can get this cool effect in your build just by hiding some under your floor. Plus, both bushes look great as a new vegetational decoration that you can place around your builds. For the Firefly farm, we'll need to have a container for storage, then a hopper to pick up the items. We're going to use either mud or farmland to pick up the items through the hoppers, as it can check 1 meter above them. And then this is where we're going to have the Firefly Bush. You can find your very first ones uncommonly along river biomes, or they are really abundant inside of the swamp biome, and just breaking them will give you the item. Then going towards the container over here, we're going to have a observer facing this way and one facing this way. Together they're going to make a clock, which is powering this block here, which will power our dispenser, which is going to be right here. That will be automatically bone milling the plant in front, and then we're going to encase this. You can use trapdoors if you want to. And then this is where we're going to put in our bone mill. And then every time it uses one bone mill on the Firefly Bush, it's going to produce one of the new Firefly Bush items, which are slowly going to be moved over into the barrel. Keep in mind not to let this farm run too long, as the hopper cannot actually keep up, and eventually it'll fill in all these slots, then the items will despawn on top. Then to turn it on and off, we're just going to put a lever here and power it. That's just going to lock this dispenser from taking in any new power from the observers. Little Timmy says leave a like on the video. Now for more bone meal storage, we can just come in with a hopper in the back over here, and then more storage on top. You can even hook this up into my automatic bone meal farms, with the best one that I recommend being this moss farm here. It's really simple to build up, and it can easily produce enough bone meal for this farm. I'll have it linked down below. But if the dispenser completely runs out of bone meal, it won't be able to keep up resupplying the bone meal with a single hopper, so you'll want to come in with a second hopper line that is like this, and that way they can both pull from the chest, and we're just going to put a block on top to reduce lag and stop it from picking up random items that might be above it. Now we can increase the production farm up to 18,000 items per hour just by placing in a sticky piston here. And now when we remove power, it's going to power the dispenser every 4 game ticks. So to keep up with this extra demand, we're going to have to come in here with another container and another hopper in order to pick up the extra items that are stuck in this hopper. So as long as we have enough storage as well as an infinite bone meal source, this farm also becomes infinitely automatic if you build this inside your spawn chunks. And you can learn about how to run this farm without a player, and also how chunk loading works in these 2 videos here, which I have put down in the description for you. Let your favorite Minecrafters know about these new farms. Now we'll show you how to build up 2 different fast bush farms. It works because when it is bone milled, it will produce another bush beside it if there is a dirt-like block that it can place it onto. Starting out, we're going to put in a on and off switch, which will be right here. Then we'll have the sticky piston, which will turn it on and off. We're also going to put in some storage. We're going to need 2 chests and 2 hoppers on top of each other to keep up with it. And then on top of this is where we're going to place in the mud. Now we're going to have to block this off so that items don't clip through. You can use whatever blocks you want. I like using glass so we can watch it. And this is where the bush block will go. You can find your first bushes in patches, either in the plains biomes or the different types of windswept biomes, including the gravelly hills and forest variations. Also in forest, birch forest, old growth forest, and along rivers like frozen as well as normal. Now put a piston on this side, then we're going to close off this side as well. And over here we're going to place in one part of our clock, which is going to be an observer facing towards the piston we put in here. And we're going to place in another observer above it, and this should update it and pull it down. Now we're going to close off these holes. Then we're also going to place in some blocks here and here. Then use this block to place in our dispenser facing downwards so we can bone mill the bush. And then close this off with some blocks here, here, as well as a solid block right there and there. Now we come in and place in 2 redstone dust on top of this. And if we put some bone meal into our dispenser here, once we go ahead and start it up, this is going to move these 2 observers together, which will make them pulse at a 4 game tick cycle rather than the normal 6 if you just place observers in by hand. And that's why we use a sticky piston here. And this is important because now the piston is moving at 4 game ticks, and dispensers are limited at only working every 4 game ticks, so it makes sense to synchronize our piston with our dispenser Otherwise, when the piston is moving forward, the piston head will be in the area where the bush is trying to be planted, and it will fail to plant it. But this way, the piston is perfectly synced up so that it's always retracted, so there's a place to plant in the bush, and then it will come forward and break it off. And then we're using 2 hoppers because now that we're producing items every 4 game ticks, it means this farm is producing 18,000 items per hour, which means we need 2 hoppers, as a single hopper can only push out 9,000 items per hour. So the second hopper will pull any items out of the previous one and then help push them in, so that way we can keep up with the farm. But with this design, there is a very small chance that items will clip through and escape the farm. For more storage, you will need 2 hoppers pushing items into this dispenser here, as it's also using a bone meal twice as fast as any hopper can push it in. So we would have to have a chest like this that is full of bone meal in order to keep up with it. And if you have this hooked up to one of my bone meal farms, make sure you have 2 hopper lines going into this chest to keep up with all the demand. We're closing in on 500,000 subscribers, so make sure to join us by clicking that button. Now for the compact version of it. It does use a hopper minecart, so if you play on a server that deletes entities, make sure to build the previous one. We're going to start out by having a double chest worth of storage, and we're going to have 2 hoppers to keep up with the amount of items per hour it produces. Then we're going to place dirt blocks on top of these, and then some temporary blocks we're going to place on this side over here. And then we're going to place in a rails like this. That will curve the rail. We can remove these 2 and place in our minecart that has a hopper on top of that. And then if we press F3 plus B, we can see the hitboxes. And what that does, it will immediately place the hopper between 4 blocks, which means the hopper is already inside of these 2 blocks here, so that we can easily push it in without needing to push blocks into the hopper minecart. At this point, we're going to remove the rail, and now what we're going to do is we're going to push the hopper minecart forward a little bit. We want to make sure that the majority of the minecart is on this block side, but we still want a little bit of it on this side here. So we're going to kind of push it at an angle. We'll keep our cursor on this block so we can see the edge of this dirt block. You can see we got about 1 pixel left on this block. That's fine. Now we're going to try to push it mostly just forward, just like so. And we'll keep pushing until it is flush completely inside there. And at this point, if we did it correctly, the hopper minecart should be mostly on this side, but a little bit of it should be hanging over on this side. As long as it's within the first 3 pixels, it will continue to work. Now we can come in and remove these temporary blocks, place in an observer pointing up towards us, then place our dispenser in front of it pointing towards this block where we're going to have our bush. And then we're going to have a redstone dust on top of that with a solid block on the side. This will power our normal piston, which we're going to face downwards. Now to power this entire system, we're going to need to place in some temporary blocks over here, including a piston. Then we're going to have an observer in front that is facing downwards like that. And now when we power this piston here, we're going to push this observer into place, making it a much faster clock than just if you place it in by hand. Then we go ahead and remove any of the temporary blocks that we had before, and we can come in and place our bone meal in this dispenser right here. And this will bone meal the bush, which will plant it in the only available spot over here. And it's perfectly timed, so this piston will come down and break it just afterwards. And with the hopper minecart being so close to where the items are broken off, it will immediately pick them up. And since it's sitting on top of both of these hoppers, it will split the loot so that we can push them into this chest here at a speed of 18,000 items per hour, which is what this farm produces. We could turn it off by placing in a lever here and just powering this. And like the other designs, if you want to have enough hoppers being able to keep up with the farm, you want to make sure to place in hoppers on 2 sides and having both of them come into a bone meal source where we can place some, such as in this double chest right here, while also capping off this hopper here. And then you can hook this up to whatever bone meal farm you have. Otherwise, you can just use it like this to have a really compact farm. Now dive into every simple farm and machine in this playlist here. And thanks every one of you who come in and use your monthly Amazon Prime or Twitch Prime over at my Twitch channel. If you guys have either of that, just make sure to manually renew it, as this is a great way to support me, and Twitch will pay me full without it costing you anything extra. Plus, you get your name here at the end of each of my videos, like all these lovely folks. See you in the next one. Bye bye!